Namaste. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming for my session. It's going to be very, very short. That's why please don't miss it. Gentlemen in the back row, please come closer. My name is Vitaly Kamluk, and I'm going to talk with a lightning speed because I have only 15 minutes for this very important topic, which is ransomware. I'm going to talk about ransomware, and ransomware. So please prepare. First, a quick recap through, standard introduction into ransomware. Ransomware, 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 ransomware. Ransomware, 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 ransom here, ransom there, ransom everywhere. So now let's talk about serious business. Well, few important things you must know, and I brought this to you. Current propagation and payment acceleration methods that are used in ransomware business. This is how ransomware propagates now, through infected websites that are compromised through malvertising. That means injection of the malicious content into the banner network that can be placed on the legitimate websites. Then the most popular method also includes email propagation. So it includes attachments that are sent with an email message. And then social networking used to deliver messages that contain link following to the infected websites or files. If you're wondering how it looks like via email attachment, this is it. You're receiving this email saying that you should probably check this invoice attached, and there is a doc file attached. Surprisingly, there is no exploit, no vulnerability, but it's just a plain doc file with the macros, which used to be like very old problem. But the text here is put by the attacker. It says, enable macro if the data encoding is incorrect. And then there is some gibberish text, which is very simple social engineering trick to convince the user to enable the macros in the office. Once the user does it, the malware infects the system and encrypts all the user files. So don't fall into such simple trick, because about 90% of common users do. It is also spreading through attachments which are archives with an executable inside. And these guys, even more, they rename exe files into SCR, which is screensaver application, which is basically the same as executable, but most of the users are not aware of this, and they just double-click whatever is inside of the archive and get infected. All right, talking about payment acceleration used by the bad guys, they very often represent themselves as a law enforcement. So they impersonate law enforcement and they show you a warning from FBI, from maybe Indian police, from whoever that threatens you to pay the ransom now. Otherwise, you will be passed to the local authorities. They may also publish some of your data online, or at least threaten you to do that, to urge you to pay faster. They may also encrypt your backups, in case you have one, to leave you no choice other than to pay the ransom. Now, let's focus on situation in India, because this is what I looked in before coming here to India. First, I just browsed the news, and I found that just about last week, there was a major incident that happened in Maharashtra. In Mumbai, there was a government network affected by ransomware. They counted about 150 PCs affected by this ransomware known as Loki. And Loki is very nasty ransomware because it does not only infect your local files, but it will infect all the files it can find on the remote servers, on the enabled and mapped network shares, which is why probably we see such a big number from one infection. This is the map of distribution of Loki ransomware across the world based on our sensors. You can see here that India takes the first position in the world in the number of infections for the past 3 months. So these are numbers from our sensors. In reality, the real number would be probably about 10 times bigger. That includes other vendors or probably users that don't have antivirus at all. So our perception, our feeling is that it's 10 times bigger than that. Another nasty ransomware, it's one of the top popular ransomware families, is Tesla Crypt. And India here is on the first position by the number of infections, according to our statistics. Now, the good news is, talking about Tesla Crypt, the bad guys gave up the operation, and they released the secret keys that are necessary, that are mandatory to decrypt user files. So all these victims in India, probably they are 10 times bigger than in the number that you see, now can use free decryptors to get their files back encrypted by Tesla Crypt. I also looked into propagation of ransomware within India, within country, and distribution by state. So this is the heat map of the distribution of all ransomware families that we've seen out there. And I was wondering, like, how this can be explained. Why is it unequal distribution within the country? So I started checking different maps, like population distribution maps, different age maps, and so on. And the closest I found so far was the map showing the distribution of urban population in India. This is the map. So it more or less correlates with this heat map of ransomware distribution, as you see. Probably explains and connected to the development of internet and adoption of technology by state. I also checked other bigger networks, enterprise networks and government networks, if there are any reports about detection of ransomware in these networks. Because we have seen from the news there were incidents on the government level. Yes, there are many more that are apparently not reported. These are incidents that were prevented by our product. For example, on the first place, we can see education, research, and science institutes. About 8 big networks from this sector was or could be affected by ransomware if our product was not installed there and didn't stop the threat. As for the governmental networks, there is government and state on the first position with 3 incidents during the past 3 months. One of the network was a defense contractor, which is pretty serious. But all this means that big companies and enterprises from all these sectors are affected by this problem. There are still users that will double-click the attachment, that will enable the macro in the office, and they will get compromised. So the delicate question, to pay or not to pay. Generally, we advise not to pay the ransom because it will only help the bad guys to develop and deliver more malware. And there is no guarantee that you'll get the encryption key after all. If you are still in doubt, you can probably learn from the lesson of a medical institution, a Kansas Heart Hospital from the United States that happened just less than 2 weeks ago. They got hit by ransomware. They paid the ransom. What they got in response? Yet another ransom request. So they had to pay again. They decided not to pay the second ransom and just rely on the backups they had so far. So this is QR code for the link if you want to read the news in the detail. There was also a short TV report about the same thing. Okay, just a minute for those who want to make a photo. So yes, please do not pay. There are many, many reasons why you don't want to do that. Because there are alternative ways, and let me show you what are these ways. First of all, what are we doing as a company and as an industry? It's not all about doom and gloom, so we work with law enforcement closely. I myself personally seconded to Interpol. I work from Singapore Interpol office, and I help with cyber investigations whenever it comes to malware. So this cooperation results in many success stories like this from 2014, a disruption of Angler exploit kit, which was successful and affected more than 15,000 of infected websites across the world, in which 60% of those were pushing ransomware. And that's $30 million operation affected by law enforcement. That's the operation by the bad guys. Another way is free tools that we develop. Our analysts carefully research and analyze all the ransomware families. And whenever it's possible, we release free decryption tools containing the decryption keys obtained either from the malware or from the servers that are taken down and seized by the police and provided to us for analysis. So there is a website where we distribute such tools. It's called noransom.kaspersky.com, where anyone can download the tools that our researchers have developed so far. What you can do to effectively protect your company or yourself from ransomware, the best of all strategies include the following steps. Make backups and make sure that these backups are not connected to your system all the time. If that's an external hard drive, plug it off, keep it offline. If that's a network share, make sure it's not connected all the time because ransomware will try to go for your backups. Second, keep your software up to date. This is distributed through the exploits. That means you have not updated your software if you are affected by these exploit kits. So don't forget to update all the components and operating system. And use reliable antivirus solution. There are so many vendors now, there are so many offerings, so many startups that claim to be the best antivirus in the world. Please make sure you check them against independent tests and you check the detection ratio, false positive ratio, and everything before relying on an antivirus solution. And finally, improve the user awareness because this is the user that opens the documents, read the text that if you see the gibberish, please enable macro. This is the user that falls the victim of and enables ransomware guys to infect this system. Yeah, one more thing. My friend that got affected and his company got compromised despite of all attempts asked me what to do in February of this year. I told him keep all the files for some time, and he did. In a few months, he saw a free decryptor that helped his company to recover, just because the bad guys were chased by the law enforcement and they gave up in the end. So if nothing helps, just preserve your files for some time and you will see that there may be help. With this, I would like to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir, for the informative session.